Hi, there are three stories today. Sit back and enjoy the show. I, 32, male, have been married to my wife, 30 female, for 5 years, and it feels like in the last year, she's become a complete stranger. We were both established when we met, and initially, it felt like we shared the same values. I attended a trade school and acquired a very technical job. I worked various entry-level positions before proving myself and building a reputation in coding, where my references became more valuable than my education. My wife, on the other hand, holds a graduate degree and works in a management position. This initially led to what I perceived as friendly tension. In the early stages, I complained about middle management, viewing them as obstacles between me and completing tasks. My wife, however, saw middle management as essential for directing personnel and resources. I had encountered a series of middle managers who considered code developers replaceable and set unreasonable deadlines, promised features to clients, and introduced scope creep. Every time I shared the frustrations of dealing with my manager, she consistently took his side, despite never having met him. "He sees things you don't," she would say. After about a year of dating, I learned to refrain from discussing my workday unless it involved time off or raises. I often felt she resented the fact that I didn't pursue a 4-year or graduate degree. She had pushed the idea early on, but when I broke down the loans and debt, she dropped it. We both entered marriage relatively debt-free, and our earning power was quite comparable. Around 2 years ago, I joined a company with an owner who communicated directly with me, recognizing my value and potential. I now earn 50% more than my wife, and my manager, while not a technical lead, embodies the qualities of an excellent SCRM master. He knows how to support me without being adversarial, making him a great supervisor. The first 4 years of our marriage went smoothly overall. I refrained from complaining about work managers, and she didn't pressure me to invest thousands in a degree. We enjoyed date nights, shared hobbies, cooked together, and engaged in activities like reading books and watching movies together. During the initial lockdown, we both adapted to working from home. Our spacious house, equipped with 3 spare bedrooms, allowed us to convert 2 of them into offices, one for each of us. My office was already set up, while we transformed the second bedroom into a workspace for my wife. Our telecommuting routines, however, differed significantly. I followed a more formal approach, starting my day with breakfast, a shower, shaving, and donning a suit, a garment I despise, but it helps me mentally shift into work mode. On the other hand, my wife adopted a more casual approach, rolling out of bed, having breakfast, brushing her teeth, and dressing in a t-shirt and sweatpants before heading to her office with an iPad in hand, occasionally playing Candy Crush between emails. It seems like I view it as work from home, while she sees it as work from home. The proximity of our workspaces seemed to create distance between us. While she had multiple daily meetings and left her office door wide open, making the discussions audible to me, I only had a short daily scrum meeting, which I closed my door for to maintain focus. 5 months ago, she expressed feeling insulted by my closed door during this scrum, claiming it made her think I was hiding something. I clarified that it was for peace and concentration on work. Despite my efforts to maintain our shared hobbies, she dismissed them, citing that we already spent the entire day together. In retrospect, I should have pushed the conversation further, but I treated the lockdown as temporary. Things took a turn for the worse when her company initiated a partial office reopening, and she eagerly joined the 50% returning to the rearranged office for social distancing. Although I missed the office atmosphere, my company hadn't reopened its offices, and I felt content as long as I had access to my development environment. Influenced by some coworkers, she started staying after work for gatherings, having drinks at a colleague's place. Despite my attempts to inquire, she became secretive and guarded, growing increasingly distant. It felt like I had a roommate rather than a wife. Last month, she handed me her old iPad on a weekend and requested it to be wiped, mentioning it was a gift for her niece. I thought little of it, as I often performed such tasks for the family. As she headed off to another company gathering, I switched on the iPad. Perhaps my wife had grown so bold, thinking I wouldn't check her phone and would simply perform a factory reset. Regardless, I did check, and what I found in her messaging app was devastating. Pictures, videos, and instant messages with her boss, all evidence of a 2-month-long affair. The sensation coursing through my veins was indescribable, like my blood turning to ice. It felt akin to the scene in Equilibrium, where the polygraph flatlined. I meticulously copied everything, storing it in the cloud storage I use for development projects, separate from work. Simultaneously, I began the search for a lawyer. Initially, I refrained from confronting her as I grappled with the overwhelming emotions and uncertainty about how to proceed. The new numbness I felt while walking through water went unnoticed or disregarded by her. By this point, our bedroom was already devoid of any life. We had entered a roommate stage. Upon consulting a lawyer, he advised me to continue the investigation discreetly. He recommended hiring a private investigator, and I followed his suggestion. Over the next 4 weeks, we gathered evidence, and my lawyer prepared the divorce filing. Be patient, he consistently reminded me. The combination of my icy veins and her apparent indifference made it easier to maintain composure initially. Yesterday, my lawyer informed me that the filing was nearly ready. Our state operates on an at-fault basis, and the private investigator had acquired photos, videos, and incriminating texts. A practically foolproof case. Then, last night, something in me changed. The ice turned to fire. She arrived home late as usual, and though I can't recall her exact words, I unleashed my emotions. I expressed my hope that betraying our marriage for her boss was worth it. She responded with malice, turning vindictive. According to her, I wasn't emotionally available, merely lounging all day at home, despite being the primary earner. I apparently lacked intellectual stimulation, despite holding a highly technical job. In response, I revealed my lawyer's involvement, and she scoffed, laughing at what she deemed a pathetic bluff. She confidently asserted that there was no way I would leave her, emphasizing the financial repercussions for me in the process. According to her, staying with her allowed occasional intimacy, so I shouldn't jeopardize that. It felt like she had become an entirely different person. I retorted, stating, "That's not a marriage," to which she laughed once again. "Honey, this is the 21st century. A woman can have her cake and eat it too." She chuckled and headed to bed. I promptly emailed my boss, explaining the need for a week off due to a family issue, and he granted the request. I spent the night on the couch in my office. This morning, she left while I was getting dressed, uttering only, "Don't wait up." I visited my lawyer's office, where he confirmed the readiness of the divorce papers. Accompanied by a process server, he inquired about how I wanted the papers served. I provided the necessary instructions. My lawyer, with a smile, warned me, "You better not. I've had many clients wanting to serve papers in a creative or vengeful way, but I always advise against it. Judges don't appreciate humor in these matters." He explained the potential consequences, mentioning the risks to alimony or assets. Unfazed, I was fueled by the burning words she had uttered. I wanted her to feel the sting in return. Despite the lawyer's attempts to dissuade me, he relented when he saw the determination in my eyes. The process server, upon hearing my plan, also laughed and declared, "You're my hero." I had to rush order a special item for this purpose. I sent the process server to pick it up and deliver it, along with the divorce papers, to my wife's workplace. The process server later recounted what transpired. He arrived at her office with a large box and the legal papers. Finding my wife engaged in conversation and laughter with co-workers and friends, he asked for her name. Upon confirmation, he placed the box on a nearby desk and opened it to reveal a cake with a custom image printed in frosting. An image of my wife and her boss in an intimate embrace. Though clothed, their actions were evident, accompanied by the words, "Here's your cake. Eat it," piked in icing above the image. I hadn't known such custom cake images existed until that morning. Placing the legal papers next to the cake box, he declared, "You've been served." What followed was a loud screech from her, capturing the attention of at least 8 people in the office. My wife, in a panic, swatted the cake box off the table where it landed on the carpet, but the image remained visible. Her co-workers began berating her, and she responded with tears and screams. The process server made a hasty retreat. My phone was bombarded with messages, but I ignored them, sending her calls to voicemail. She hasn't returned home, but her mother texted me saying she will be staying over there for now. While the initial euphoria from the cake was exhilarating, as hours passed, I found myself contemplating my lawyer's words. Did I make a grave mistake? Story 2. Experiencing love is undeniably one of life's most beautiful aspects, yet it comes with its own set of risks. Life itself is a series of gambles, a truth I've come to understand. I enlisted in the Marines as a private and have worked my way up to the rank of corporal through hard work and dedication. My intention was to remain a Marine for the entirety of my life, or at least, that was the plan until recently. 3 years ago, I married my wife. At that time, I was deeply in love, finding joy in every action she took. Her gaze, smiles, laughter, and the way she played with her hair, all of it held a special place in my heart. However, my feelings have since become uncertain, and I'm questioning whether I love her at all. During an 8-month deployment, my fellow soldiers at the base frequently warned me about the notion that women marry soldiers for the benefits: financial, health care, education, vacations, and more. They suggested that wives often feel lonely during deployments and might seek companionship while we are away. Initially, I dismissed these warnings, refusing to believe that every woman could be characterized in such a way. However, my perspective has shifted, and I am hesitant to make broad generalizations. Returning home involved a 12-hour flight, a journey fueled by the anticipation of reuniting with my family, a wife, and our beautiful princess. The separation from my child felt like enduring countless punches to the stomach until the moment of our reunion. Despite the physical distance, I maintained regular communication with my family, especially my daughter, through various means. Entering the house, I expected to find them there, but it was empty. Sitting down and waiting, I attempted to call my wife, but she didn't answer, nor did she respond to any text. Strange thumping sounds emanated from the basement, prompting me to investigate. As I opened the door, I heard a man moaning, and I descended quietly, grateful for the soft, furry-like carpet that muffled my steps. To my disbelief, I caught my wife engaged in an intimate act with someone I knew from high school. While we weren't close friends, we were acquainted. Unable to tolerate the situation, I reacted by confronting the man. My actions weren't excessively brutal, but I left him with a black eye and a busted lip. He was aware that she was my wife, and he knew I was away. Despite my wife's pleas and apologies, my perception of our home became shattered. My brother's warnings about marriage, particularly concerning my wife, seemed to ring true. Trust in her was irrevocably broken, and the idea of remarriage felt like a pointless endeavor, especially considering my commitment to remaining a Marine. Despite the betrayal, we are still married. Regret fills my days as I struggle to maintain any semblance of connection. I find myself avoiding eye contact, looking away when she smiles, or attempting to minimize physical contact. Our once shared passion for exploring new cuisines at highly rated restaurants in different states has become a distant memory, and the love I once felt has dissipated. When divorce is mentioned, she pleads with fake tears, confessing to the affair and expressing remorse. Her suggestions for counseling fall on deaf ears, as I resist any form of physical intimacy or prolonged eye contact. My emotional distance is palpable, and the strained relationship feels more distant than that of enemies. Despite her pleas, I am not inclined to participate in counseling, anticipating it to be an exercise in futility. Concerns about my daughter's paternity have crossed my mind, but the resemblance she bears to me, with my ears, eye color, and blonde hair, alleviates any need for a DNA test. Regardless of the circumstances, she remains the center of my life, the reason I refrain from pursuing divorce and bringing closure to the marriage. One of my brothers, surprisingly, didn't taunt me with "we told you so," but instead emphasized that I was compromising my life with the wrong person. He urged me to consider the possibility of finding genuine happiness if I were to end the marriage. However, such advice is met with skepticism. In the midst of a pandemic, returning home remains a distant wish. Despite the turmoil, I extend my blessings to everyone and encourage staying safe indoors. Story 3. From the beginning of kindergarten until the end of middle school, I, 27M, endured severe bullying. My classroom, excluding me, consisted of 15 children, among whom 7 were relentless bullies, while the other 8 turned a blind eye to the torment. The 4 most aggressive bullies formed the B team, inflicting significant harm, while the remaining 3, the C team, engaged in lighter but still hurtful acts or followed the B team's lead. The trauma caused by the B team led me to seek therapy, and the scars have stayed with me. If I were to encounter them today, I would want them held accountable for their actions. While my resentment towards the C team is less intense, it lingers. Until last year, I couldn't bring myself to forgive anyone from that classroom, including both teachers and students, for failing to intervene during the torment. However, my hatred started fading last year due to personal events, which I won't share. Upon transferring, I vowed never to return to that town or interact with any of them again. Despite my determination, my past found a way to catch up with me. I work part-time at a pub twice a week, and about 6 months ago, I coincidentally met Nina, 27F, there. Nina was one of the C-team bullies, and although I have forgiven them now, it doesn't mean I want any connection with her. I chose to remain professional and act as if nothing was wrong. Physically, she hasn't changed much, and I could still recognize her. On the other hand, I've undergone significant changes since middle school, transforming from a chubby, pale, light brown-haired individual to a fit person with slightly pinker skin and darker hair. When friends see my old photos, they struggle to recognize me. Our interaction at the pub was limited, given that I was working, but when one of my colleagues called me using my distinctive and rare name, think something like Aristotle in our country, she connected the dots and recognized me. Upon recognizing me, her demeanor underwent a significant shift, and she left rather promptly. Over the following months, she revisited the pub a couple of times, displaying shyness in our interactions. A few weeks ago, she became mildly intoxicated, leading to sobbing in a rant about her past behavior and the perceived misery in her life. Treating it as the typical drunken rambling, I curbed her alcohol intake, offered water, and received an apology from her while clearing empty glasses. I must admit it felt oddly comforting. In the subsequent weeks, she didn't return, but a few days ago, she reached out to me on social media, expressing profuse apologies for her drunken actions and unexpectedly proposing that we go out. At the time, I was either too oblivious or fatigued to discern the intention, thinking she wanted to apologize in person or discuss the past in a more sober state. I only realized my misunderstanding yesterday when discussing it with a friend. Now, I find myself torn about what course of action to take. The past actions of Nina have left a lasting impact on me, making it challenging to simply overlook. However, she appears genuinely apologetic and claims to have changed. Considering it's been 15 years, I wonder if it's worth giving her a chance. Thanks for watching. Bye.